3.
Being born a woman is a very serious crime. At least that is the idea I had when I was refused entry into my country's Air Force. I lacked the vital criteria, that is, I was not a male citizen. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lulu. In the next 6 to 8 minutes, I'm going to give you a brief, persuasive speech on how military education can be a means of curbing gender violence, especially in developing countries and third world countries. At first, the outline of my speech. In the introduction I'm going to give you is a problem cause solution order. In this method, I will identify the problem, the causes that creates the problem, and then come up with a viable solution, which is relating to the topic of my persuasive speech. Then I'm going to go to the specific purpose and move on to the body. In the body of the speech, I will have two parts, the central idea and main points, and finally the conclusion. Gender-based violence or violence against women is a major public health and human rights problem throughout the world, according to the WHO or World Health Organization statistics in 2008. The reasons behind gender violence, although are complicated and complex, can be basically categorized into four different parts. Number one is the submissive stature portrayed by women in the social system, especially in developing countries. Number two, religion and cultural norm. And in religious norm, what we say is misinterpretation of religious scripts in areas that lack education and facilities and scientific technological exposure. In those countries, violence against wives and daughters are considered normal and part of the social structure, especially in countries like Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, etc. The cultural issue is developing countries like Asia, Africa are at a much higher risk due to the gender disparity. The third factor is the forever ongoing argument of masculine versus feminine. This is a misleading perception regarding the role of women, as many developing countries in the world consider women's right to be submissive and the man's right to be more aggressive. As you can see, this bars the woman from the basic physical education and training in self-defense, and the masculine perceptions like aggressiveness, competitiveness, unfortunately fuels the hostility towards women, which contributes to the violence against women in those countries. And the fourth and most major factor, as identified by UNIFEM in their fact sheet number 5, is power inequalities between women and men, which is a combination of lack of education, misinterpretation of religious scripts, as well as lack of technical, scientific, and health education. I will throw some statistics at you right now. According to UNIFEM statistics, globally, 1 in every 3 women have been beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused by men either in their family or spouse or a relative, which is a very compelling and despairing number. Over 20% of women all over the world are reported to have been abused by men with whom they live. Also a very compelling statistics of violence against women. The average demography of victims of violence, different types, are usually between 15 to 44 years. And unfortunately, this demography of women who are victims of physical sexual violence usually results in death and disability, which, according to UNIFEM, is more in number than caused by traffic injuries and war throughout the world. So, a solution would be military education for women. I've thrown 2 pictures of 2 Muslim countries where women are integrated into their military structure. This is a picture I got from Google website of Iraqi women who are together and they are in the military. And this is a first batch of female candidate in Pakistan. Both of them are very predominantly Muslim countries. In Philippines, according to the Military Training Philippines School, on a report in May 9, 2005, they have started a new program that integrates compulsory military education for schoolboys when they pass high school. But if that is done for women as well, like many countries in the world do, especially Western countries, it will help to bridge the gap between the gender disparity and inequality that eventually leads to gender violence. The role of military education in bridging the gap between the inequality would be education in defense will definitely equip women with more self-confidence. There will be an awareness of equality. If men and women don't necessarily have to follow submissive aggressive counterparts, then women will be more integrated into social structure, and better knowledge about their own strength will help women overcome their perception of physical weakness. In conclusion, I have stated the purpose of my speech, the causes, and I have related to you the solution, or a plausible solution that can help curb this problem. And finally, thank you very much for your time and patience.